in an extraordinary organization. I want to show some love to our producer, Leila Woodard, today, this evening, that is. Blessings to her and the great job that she has done organizing this. And I'm going to do my best to hold space as a masculine influence in such a feminine topic. So it's an honor and a challenge. I'm looking to grow and learn because, hey, I don't have a womb, but I was born through one. So I guess there's a little common denominator with that. So let me first tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Timothy Glenn. I am a spiritual mentor of over 25 years. I've been on the spiritual path of self-discovery for 32 years. Me and my wife, Jaquay Glenn, co-founded the group Leadership Institute for Transformation and Empowerment, which was constructed in 2001. So our work has been ongoing with that. I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. Been in this work right here, we're talking about womb healing, trauma from the womb. And it would be great if all the men in the community could come together and just take notes and listen and see how we can hold space within this dynamic. But if you are a woman with divinity within you, please ask anything you need. We have some powerful women here who can answer your questions, and I'll just do my best to try to respond to all of that. So again, we are all about the sacred service of understanding who we are. Let's talk a little bit about Master Force here. Master Force was created, to my knowledge, in 1987. So Master Force is not just a come-by-night institution. It has been around forever. This is the vision of Miss Rita Stewart, as we have grown to know, is Shemsu-t. She'll be telling you a little bit more about herself a little bit later. But we're just thankful for this. This is our 11th season, and I think I was informed that I was one of the first in those seasons of Ignite Your Soul, me and my wife. So I'm grateful for that. So tonight, we have Miss Iris Berry here, and we have, again, Miss Rita Stewart, better known as Shemsu-t. I'm going to read their bios right now, if that's okay. And then they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we can get into this dynamic conversation, okay? So first, I want to begin with Miss Iris Berry. She is a holistic health coach and also an MFC life coach. I've been informed that she was one of the first to come through in the MFC courses. So this is significant to have her here and her expertise. We also have Miss Rita Stewart, again, better known as Shemsu-t. And let me just read a little bit about our founder, the visionary of why this was created. And I'm going to read, and I hope I don't miss anything. Honey, I'm going to do my best because it is extensive, and I don't even think this touches the surface of who this woman is in my life. So let me just tell you something about her. Miss Rita, as we call her, Rita Stewart, Shemsu-t, who prefers to be called by that spiritual name, Shemsu-t, is a Master Force coach and the owner of Master Force Incorporated, which is a training, coaching, and professional development company. She's also the founder of Master Force International Leadership Academy, which is an online school for higher learning. Shemsu-t has recently become fully engaged in the crypto digital education and learning support network. We host a weekly Zoom, they host a weekly Zoom session where she begins to discuss mirror training, Bitcoin, and generational wealth. She was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. She attended the CPS schools and graduated from, I believe that's DuSable, or you can tell me what that is, high school in 1976. She attended Westmar College in Lamars, Iowa, where she graduated with a BA in communications and business administration. Her earlier years of her career was found as an IT, which she provided services for Fortune 500 companies such as Motorola, Zenith, Century 21, Siemens Building Technology, to name a few. She also became a counselor when she took the position as Minority Affairs Advisor for Westport College in 1981 to 1986. She offers 30 years in coaching support for others and have embodied many programs designed and developed inside of the company she formed in 2001 called Masterforce Incorporated. Over the past 20 years, Masterforce has produced seminars, workshops, and programs throughout the Chicago area. Masterforce Life Coaching Certification Program also began the fall of 2010, and participants there learn how to use metaphysics, astrology, and their own spiritual acumen to assist others in reaching the highest version of their best self. There have been more than 400 people who have been certified as a life coach through the Masterforce program. And that's none other than Shemsu-t. So these are the quick bios of our presenters tonight, I keep saying today, this evening. Such extraordinary women. And I can't wait to get to know them even more through this conversation. So I want to say welcome to both of y'all this evening. Blessings to you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Timothy.
All right. Am I doing okay so far? Again, yeah.
I don't know if I wanted everyone to hear all of that.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't even touched the surface, because let me tell y'all something. This woman right here, she is the embodiment of holding space. This is what it looks like when you look at this lady here. So thank you so much, Shemsu-t, for this vision that brings us every year together on the solstice seasons, whether it's the summer solstice or the winter solstice. Both of those are pivotal times. We must have deep conversations and reflections on where we need to go, as those different periods of times are clearly initiations to the soul. Okay, so thank y'all so much. Again, I can't even scrape the surface of how great these women are. So I'm just going to let them tell you. So I guess right now I'm going to begin with Miss Iris Berry. How you doing, Iris? Blessings to you.
I am well, and yourself, Timothy?
I'm doing well. You're looking great this evening. So glad to have you. How about you tell the people a little bit about yourself this evening before we get started?
Okay, so I am Iris Berry. I actually hail from Philadelphia originally, raised in the military most of my life. Lived in Chicago for a little under 15 years. My favorite city still. I now reside in Arizona. My background is social work and public health. So I have a little bit of child welfare, human resources, health, so cancer, HIV/AIDS, sexually transmitted diseases, women's health, a little bit of everything underneath my belt. I came to move class to Masterforce Academy via Shalonda Bauer, though, I think is what brought me. And that actually helped me transition to be the health coach and life coach I am now, the holistic health coach that I am now. Is so invaluable in how the Masterforce life coaching program complements my social work degree is just like amazing. It's like ended my career back then. I don't think there's anything else to add. I think that's enough.
I remember seeing you on the street one day, and you had your Masterforce binder. It was about this thick. And you said, "Move, look at." I was like, "Wow."
Well, you told us to put it together, and then I'm not going to try to look. I ain't going to try to shout out one of my other classmates. Dr. Tammy Matthews was in class all the time, showing out my binder. And I was like, I'm gonna get my binder together.
There we go. Exactly. That's so funny. I see her in the comments. So funny. So for me, Masterforce has, even though I was in the work prior to Masterforce, I've connected with so many extraordinary people that have been life-changing in so many areas. How has Masterforce influenced you and upgraded your life on your path?
I'd have to say the first part is my own healing, because all the modalities that we learned. So my own healing that I was on the journey when I came to, but it took me to the spiritual side and the metaphysical
Hmm.
side of the journey. So it really upped that. The other thing that it did, it helped me to do a better job where you learn in social work to meet the client, the customer, wherever where they're at. I think even more you learn to be more energetically connected to what you're providing as a service. And I
Sure.
think that's where Masterforce has really, really helped me to own my skills because I'm very intuitive, but I think I didn't allow myself, and I think I'm still learning to use it better because I've always turned down who I am in terms of the work that I do. But with Masterforce, I was allowed to be big, but I still think I shrunk. But I think that's what I got from Masterforce is really embracing the tools that allow me to one, be myself and offer a service to people in a way such that I am continue to heal and recognizing that because I'm providing the service doesn't mean I'm exempt from continue to heal because that's one of the things you learn in Masterforce. That's one of the things is that everything starts with you. And then when you're serving, it keeps you ever present to your stuff and not intermingling that into the clients or the who you're servicing's life. So that's how it's enhanced my life. It's been a blessing. And then the modalities that you learn from the metaphysical causations, I only learned that because I went through the Master Force Life Coaching program. I Ching, oh my gosh, Destiny cards, breathing to center. That was my first outside of yoga. Yoga's a little bit different because it's surface, but breathing to center. And I don't say it as much as I used to, but I do a lot of breath work and it's been a blessing. I think of the modalities that I took away from there, that's probably my favorite because it works everywhere. Like I throw that into presentations, even when I know, okay, y'all, this is what we're going to do. If I'm facilitating or something, I help people to learn to breathe and breathe properly. So,
Such beautiful, beautiful reflections. Um, and I'm sure everyone can feel the energy of why it is important that you're on the panel tonight to have this conversation, just embracing the energy of healing. It seems like it's something that is that you didn't just read about. This is something that you have been engaged in
mhm.
on a deep energetic level. So glad to have you this evening. Shemsu-t, how you doing, honey?
I am wonderful. I am just I'm just so humbled by this experience here.
Yeah, we do it. We do this every year. It feels new, right?
It does, doesn't it?
So by now, I'm sure everyone has a clue of who you are. But for those who may not, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and why we're here today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we are here today because I actually discovered growing up that very few people paid attention to the needs of children
Mm,
and young
Mm.
people. And as I became a mother myself, I began looking at what was missing. And what I saw was missing was the spiritual aspects of the child. Like we would make sure they went to church, but
right,
church didn't actually help them grow spiritually.
right.
And so I actually began teaching spiritual acumen or spiritual methodologies in my home to my then 10-year-old son and all of his friends. When I first started with him, it dawned on me that his peers probably had more influence on him than I did. So if I was going to make a difference, I needed to actually include them. So I included his peers, and then the peers started having the girls come, and then when the girls started coming, the parents started coming.
Hmm.
So we would have Wednesday night meditation and lectures in my home for about 3 years, starting in 1987, um, all the way through about 1990, actually about 1992 when I think about it.
Hmm. Okay.
But that's how we got started. And Timothy, as time moved on, and I finished up that first part because we moved out of Schaumburg, the young men started coming to me and saying, listen, we want to we're parents now, and we need to teach our children how to breathe and how to use the information that you gave us. You need to start a school. And I was like, really? I need to start a school? Well, what should I call it? And there was two of them standing in front of me going, Master Force. I'm going,
Yeah, exactly.
because Master Force was the name that we came up with, because I would be upstairs getting ready and I could hear them going, that MF, but they would say the word this and and this a bunch of boys talking
Right,
all over the place.
right.
I came downstairs. I said, "Listen, can you guys find another word for MF? Just something else, okay? Because it's just too much. It's just a lot trying to get dressed and get ready to come down here." And that evening, my son came to me. He said, "Ma, we came up with another acronym for MF." I said, "What is it?" He said, Master Force.
Hmm.
So this is why we are here now. Because when my spirit told me in 2010 that I needed to, so the young people told me to start a school. So I spent a whole year writing out the curriculum. Then my spirit said, you need to duplicate yourself. And I didn't know what that meant.
Wow.
And the spirit said, life coaches.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And all of these amazing people, I just have been surrounded by people that have also helped me in my own healing and development, helped me to heal in ways that I didn't even know that I wasn't well. So I love what Iris said, that we've learned how to serve and do our own healing at the same time and not at the cost of ourselves,
Mhm.
So, oh my goodness, already.
So you knew I was going to get a tear out in the first 10 minutes. Y'all knew that already. But let me just say this, y'all. Again, I think I was certified right in that 2011, 12, that those years right there. I met Shemsu-t just as a random Facebook friend. Probably didn't have but two friends between us. And I said, you know what, this woman, it's something about her. Let me just, and I was new to Facebook. Now you have to have a certain amount of mutual friends before you can consider, not me. If the energy was right, I sent an invite. And I sent that woman an invite and she replied to me within minutes. And we just had a conversation. And I told her, I said, one day we're going to work together.
Yeah.
And it's 2020 and we're still in the business of healing and sacred service. Let me just say, you are a visionary. None of this would be without you. So it is important that we take a little time to reflect on that and honor that for the sacrifices you have made. So I'm grateful for divine spirit and ancestors for your presence and your gift. Okay. All right. So how about we get into the meat of this discussion?
Mm.
On tonight, we're going to talk about trauma from the womb. For those who don't know, I operate in many of the sacred tools of wisdom, such as the I Ching, astrology, and human design. A few other modalities that I don't promote, but I bring out the bag if the situation calls for it. But one thing about human design, if anybody is familiar with it, we have two ways of looking at how planets come through. Planets can come through consciously, and they usually show up in a regular astrology chart. But in human design, there are red channels within the human design system that suggest this is the forming and the shaping of an individual 88 days before their birth.
Mm.
So while they're in the womb, they're learning. Whether they're learning those things that they may hold healthy for them, or things that have been passed down through traumatic experiences through the genes of both the father and the mother over generations. And this conversation, for me, is especially important for those of us in the culture who share the same skin as us. Because of what we have been through, the trauma does not sleep. The trauma is only passed on, and it's passed on through the womb. And many of those traumatic experiences I think we all share. So on tonight, I just want to let y'all just take the chains off and just let y'all go at it. Again, I just want to hold the masculine space of learning and expanding myself and how I need to show up for women who, you know, in many ways, women are they're symbolic of the universe. The universe is a womb within itself, and we're all in it being shaped, molded by our own experiences. But I want to hold space for any female or woman that has been through some things, who are still dealing with some things and coming through the smoke from this wound trauma. So I'm going to start with you, Miss Iris. I ain't forget about you. I'm going to
Oh, I'm
start with
good.
you. I'm going to start with you. And can you just reflect and share with the audience your views on trauma within the womb space? And what are your first thoughts as we have that conversation?
So when I volunteered for the conversation, I volunteered for the very reason is that when we begin to think about the womb, we're always in the physical context of what the womb is.
Mhm.
So my thought was to make sure we understood that the womb is actually our energetic center. Physically, yes, the womb is where everything for us is harnessed, our power. And if we're harnessing fear, then that's what our power presents as. If we're harnessing joy, then that's what our power looks like, what that is. But I also want to make certain that we understand that that third and second chakra, that's where our power center is, and that is for everyone. So when I think about this conversation about trauma, it's a very deep conversation because as you touched on, our trauma is almost often like DNA. We get it from our grandmother, our great grandmother. If you read the post-traumatic slave syndrome, it's just so much to consider when you think about trauma. But the other thing that I was excited about that we were having this conversation is that we get to talk about the healing on the other side, or the healing through the process. Most of my personal experience with trauma is not as grave as most people's, but I didn't begin to recognize that I even experienced trauma until my early 30s to like my early 30s to late 30s. So probably about 32, 36, when I actually had a fibroid, and then I had to do some research, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I wasn't into metaphysical causations yet. It was all about, okay, diet, diet, diet. It wasn't about any traumas that I had experienced physically. I hadn't even thought about emotional trauma, psychological trauma, and how we hold that and harness that. So thinking about this conversation today and where I'm at, the fact that I have healed myself of fibroids before, very small ones, so not in comparison to some of what some women have with, but I also have always recognized how powerful we are, not even knowing where the power center was until my late 30s, basically from that 32 to 36. Did I answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, very good.
One other thing I'm sorry. One other thing I would say too is that men have a power center. I don't know the term for it right now, but there is an energetic power center that's similar to what we're calling the womb today. So I want men to also understand that they're very much a part of this conversation about trauma to the womb, not just by birth, but for the simple fact that they've experienced trauma, and that impacts how they operate from their energetic womb.
So would it be safe to say that, and I'm so grateful for the reflection that you just shared dealing with the men, because now I feel a little more safe being here. Um, I feel a little more relevant now. Would you say that the womb is not just the space for birth potential, but the womb is a space for transformation within an individual, whether you're male or female? Would that be safe to say?
Correct.
Wow,
Correct.
sure. Extraordinary.
Correct.
Very good. Very good.
Correct.
So Shemsu-t,
Mhm.
again, we've had extensive conversations in some shape, form, or fashion around these things. A lot of my own trauma that shows up. I can't identify that trauma with any experience that I can remember. Therefore, I know intuitively, I feel that this is, before incarnation. This is before my arrival through the womb passage. And I guess I want to ask you, because of the work that you began with children, and you're a wonderful mother within yourself.
Thank you.
Can you share some of your experiences and how you approach healing within the womb of others, and how you may have experienced some of those things yourself?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Timothy. And like Iris, I didn't know that I had womb issues until later. I probably was about in my mid 40s, maybe.
Wow, come on.
I think
Okay.
I hadn't become a grandmother yet, but I knew that there was something that was off. You spoke
Hmm.
about she spoke about the intuition.
Right.
And really, that's the thing about sitting still and being with yourself, because your soul is always trying to give you a little bit of light about who you are
Hmm.
and what's going on, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I actually had no idea what it was bothering me. So I went to an energetic healer, and we did a few sessions together, and then one day he did the muscle testing on me, and he said, "Wait a minute." He said, because I think it was after my third session, and I was still kind of heavy with something. And he said, let me check something out here. And he asked me some things about my mother, and most people know that my mother was put in a mental institution when I was 5 years old, and at that time she was 27. Okay. So I didn't experience my mother throughout the rest of my life as a warm, nurturing mother. She was always ill after that. But prior to that, she was an amazing human being. But he started asking me some questions and doing a muscle testing. And during that muscle testing, we actually discovered, and I had never even had this thought show up. He said, "Is it possible that you could be your grandfather's child?"
Hmm.
That's what I said. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, the reason that I knew it was possible, because I did learn when I was 25 that my mother had been an incest victim.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
did not have the thought that I could have been his child. But then the way the family treated me, and that was what the deal was. The family treated me like, "We don't want you here. You shouldn't be here. Get out of my face." It was always that kind of rejection, that push away, that get away.
Hmm. Hmm.
What saved me was my love for knowledge, and
Mm.
get lost for hours in a closet with a book and travel all over the world. I mean, I just went but by the time I came out the closet, there was no food, everybody was asleep, nobody had even
Mm.
missed me, you know.
Wow.
So that was the environment that I grew up in. So after I did this work with the healer, I said, let me sit with this, because now it was like, ooh, this is serious, right? So
Absolutely.
I sat with my journal, and I sat and I wanted to channel my mother's energy. She was still alive, but I wanted to feel what she must have felt like if it was true that she was possibly carrying her father's child.
Hmm.
Everybody suspected this, but nobody did anything about it. so I could feel her fear. I could feel her nervousness. I could feel her isolation, her aloneness. I could feel her starvation.
Mm.
I could feel the negative, you know. So even in feeling that, I saw that that was my frequency. That literally I had been living this same frequency all that time because it was part of what was going on with her in her womb. And then I asked myself a question: Who did I have? Who did I become to survive that?
Yes.
Mm.
Because I had survived it, right? I was hurting from it. I didn't know it yet, but now I created a whole new hurt. I went and found something, right?
Mhm.
But I realized that that was the shedding time now because I was not that person. I now did not live in a house where people rejected me or could push me away. I had become very educated, self-educated. Even my college degree was really great, but I'm far more self-educated than that piece of paper right in that time in college. And I knew how to protect myself on so many levels. So I didn't have any fear about
Hmm.
life in the world. I could travel all over the world and be fine. So I began to shed that through my EFT, my
Hmm.
tapping. I
Hmm.
began to use my Bach flower remedies more heavily because now I realize all of the things that I was using to help my clients, I needed to now bring into my medicine case for myself.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and then I remember taking some time away from people, self-isolating, and just
Right.
being with me and my soul, and allowing that time to replenish the love that I had. And I found such a deep love and appreciation for me
Hmm.
as a human being. And I stood in such acknowledgement of living that life and being able to still be just generous and loving because I could have become, I told somebody, I said, you know what? I could be in a mental hospital, in jail, or could have been a mass murderer and nobody would have blamed me. They would have said, girl, you done been
Mhm.
through all that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So I hope that gives some light into what the healing. So it really is, healing is such an intimate. It's such an
Mm.
intimate that you cannot rush it, and you have to be completely surrendered to the process. And it takes time.
Mm,
It takes time.
mm. So I think I can agree with everyone that in all the years that I share with you doing this work, I'm always amazed with the stories that you bring to the table. And it gives us an idea of the grace that's on your life to do what you do. So I'm just so grateful for that. You know, it reminds me when I was doing the work of self-discovery and even going through my own initiation through the sacred masculine.
Mhm.
I had unforgiveness that began all the way in the womb that I was being formed in. And I carried that in me, but I couldn't be fully initiated and move in that sacred space as a man until I forgave the womb
Yes.
that
Yes.
the pain, was generated. And an elder once told me, he said, the womb is the most sacred space
Hmm.
that any living being could be. And I said, well, why is that? He said, that's the place where pain and
Mm.
potential connect.
Mm.
So all of the potential of what you can become meets the pain that you will have to face through those um, the generational experiences of pain that have been passed down from our ancestors. And I believe that having this conversation lets me know that this is the generation that begins to turn things around. We begin to ask the right questions, and we're more vulnerable with our experiences. So I'm so grateful for that. So taking that to you, Iris, I wonder, can you share anything that you may have gone through as far as wounding, in that the trauma in that wound space, and how has that changed your life? Is there anything that caused you to become more enlightened as to who you are in reference to those woundings?
I have to say it's more of the women around me,
Mm-hmm.
because not knowing that they had trauma outside of seeing them maybe physically abused and
Mm-hmm.
verbally abused,
Mm-hmm.
I myself haven't had any direct trauma like that.
Okay.
I do feel energetically that the reason for how I relate in relationships, my relationships with my intimate partners, for lack of a better word, my relationship with my daughter, my relationship to my mother and my sister, there is a lot of trauma, starting with my mother and my grandmother, but they themselves wouldn't recognize it as trauma. A trauma my daughter experienced as a result of maybe not understanding how to prepare her to not only survive but also thrive in a healthy balance of of her male and female energy. So often as Black parents, we are really just pushing our kids to survive. Thriving is a second thought, at least it was for me as a parent. Um, so I have to say, for me, recognizing that the trauma was so deep, and again, that didn't even come between 32 and 36. That didn't come until probably like you, Moo, um, in my 40s, um, really seeing it and seeing the trauma in the relationship with my daughter, attempting to be a mother to her, also heal myself, also see what's happening in my family. Um, and being the only one that's intuitive enough to call it what it is, and people not being ready to deal with it.
Wow.
But living those cycles, so being disruptive and thinking I'm helping people to heal, but creating more trauma, being who I am. So not knowing how to use what I know correctly with the people that are closest to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably created more trauma by pushing sometimes. And not knowing that sometimes in helping other people to heal, you have to understand how you need to heal from, whether it's direct or indirect trauma. Um, how do you handle that? But I also can't say that I haven't experienced direct. I have experienced direct trauma, but not to the extent of some people. So I would say I've said no and allowed somebody to go along. So I have experienced trauma, period. But I would have to say that
Yeah.
most people I can call that forth differently, and I'm not hostile anymore. I'm not angry anymore about it. But I call it when I see it.
Right.
Because one of the things why women suffer so much trauma at the hand of our intimate partners, our men, are in our lives, is partly because how we're trained in this patriarchal society. And if you add on the layer of race, so you have patriarchy, capitalism, race, all of those intersect together. And when you think about patriarchy and where Black women fall, we absorb everybody's stuff. And I'm not going to say more than Black men. It's different because we have been trained for so long to protect our Black men, even at the risk of harming ourselves further,
Mercy.
even
Yeah.
at the risk of harming ourselves further, rather it's emotionally, financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. Has been part of our paradigm as a community, and not everybody, because some people got this. Some people had a family that, knew how to heal, knew that there was some trauma that was there. So I'd have to say, for me, knowing the trauma was there and not being able to call it what it was, that I think I call more trauma that we need to heal from, and that we're healing from now. Because when you're trying to heal and you're trying to get your family to heal, I was the auntie or the sister that was always, no, we need to talk about it. No, we need to talk about it. And not realizing that you're creating more trauma for everybody involved. So
Yes.
that's how my trauma presented. So me healing, me being woke, and me, wanting everybody to feel the power of, oh my God, you don't have to feel this way. You can be more powerful, but and many people don't see that when we get stagnant. It's because our center of power is coagulated. It's junky. It's messy. It's
Yes.
blocked, because we're operating from pain.
Mm-hmm.
We're operating from fear. We're operating from lack. We're operating from shame. So all those things slow down what we're able to do creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if you're an artist, a teacher, whatever it is, you're going to be blocked, or you will operate so high for so long that at some point you crash. And I would be that type of person. A lot of that has to do with your zodiac. A lot of that has to do with how you operate from your birth chart. And
Mm-hmm.
I could have probably, had I used my birth chart better, saw when a decline would come, because I had to face it 100%.
Yeah.
Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yes.
It does. It does. It does. Again, just listening to your story, Iris, I want to make sure that no feminine force within this space of having this conversation
Mhm.
bypasses any form of violation or trauma, no matter if you were touched and didn't ask to be,
Mhm.
or if it's something more extreme. I want
Mhm.
everybody to pay attention because these things can be very subtle. And I just want to say this, to the women here and those listening on behalf of men. I feel that we do owe some type of, maybe not an apology, but some that there is a sense of, well, maybe we can say that, an apology to y'all, because in our ignorance, I think we have caused a lot of wounding for the same women who fight to protect us.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I do ask for y'all's forgiveness in that space. And then, if I can represent that on behalf of men who may be too ignorant to do that, I want to do that now. I think there was a question. Um,
Excuse
Producer
me.
Leela, can you put that question back up before me so I can see it? It came, it went so fast. But I think okay, here we go. Here we go. Thank you so much. So the question is, what does someone do to help family, or the family, I guess, who may have experienced this type of uh, trauma within the womb? So, Shemsu, again, you are a mother of many. Are there any suggestions that you can give to help those with this family dysfunction of wounding? Are there any steps they could take or something to look at here?
You know, one of the things that I know for real is that we can't help anyone that does not want to be helped.
Okay.
So the best way to prepare that space is what? Love.
Mhm.
Okay.
We have to develop so much love and compassion for what people are dealing with and have dealt with, that you can actually sit next to them. And when they're ready,
Mhm.
they will open up to you.
Mhm.
Because poking and prodding and
Mhm.
trying to uncover the secrets and trying to tell on everybody, that doesn't
Mhm.
work.
Mm,
That creates more shame.
yes.
Yes,
And it
that part.
the fear and the barrier. Because
Mhm.
the thing about the ego will protect you till you die. It'll
Come
act
on
like
now.
you die. Your ego won't let you feel nothing. We're not dealing with that. Mm-mm. Matter of fact, might kill you if you keep going, right?
Yeah.
Woo.
So you don't want to trigger the ego with this type of healing. What you want to do is heal at the spirit level. And
Yes.
the way to heal at the spirit level is through love
Mm,
and nurturing. So one of the things that we can do is really teach in our homes, really teach with our parents either how to nurture themselves. Our parents don't know anything about
mm-mm,
nurturing themselves. They have taken
mm-mm.
care of somebody forever. Worked jobs night and day, come home, cook,
Yes.
clean, go to bed,
Yes.
get up. They have
Yep.
not experienced nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
massages and caring and resting and somebody bringing them food except on their birthday or something. There's a lot of love missing in our homes. There's a lot of
Yes.
missing in our homes. And if we
Mm.
can start there by showing up, being
Mm-hmm.
present with people, loving people right where they are, and not
Mm-hmm.
looking at them ready to criticize and fix them. People don't have to be fixed for us to love them. We know, listen, we've
Mm-hmm.
been messy all our life. We can love, we can ask for love. And I want you to get better before I can love you. Mm.
Yes.
We
Mm.
all
Yes.
want
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
space where we can be, we can open ourselves to love people.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you create that type of environment, people feel comfortable being vulnerable with you. You know, they'll share things with me. I have an 86-year-old aunt that will call me late at night sometime and just tell me the most awesome stories. Have me in tears about her life
Mm-hmm.
and how and the things that she did and she wished she didn't do. And in our coaching practice, we call that recapitulation.
There you go.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Recapitulation.
Mm-hmm.
Most people wait and do it when on their deathbed.
Yes.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And they want everybody to forgive them. No, what we teach in our courses is that you recapitulate every day. You look and see what did you do today to fuck somebody. Oh, to
Yeah, we're getting it now. Let's go.
what did you do today that hurt somebody
Mm.
that you need to go clean that up?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And the more we are willing to do that piece, we open our hearts. Our heart chakras is where the most powerful essence of who we are lives. Our
Mm-hmm.
hearts are nowhere near open enough for what this world needs to change, but it's getting there. I
It's
mean,
Right.
getting there.
even this platform right now is part of that process. You know, does that help? Does that help some, Timothy?
I think so. I think so, and I'm hoping it help those who has the question. I do have another question, and somebody can answer that. The question is, what if loving them where they are only hurts you?
Mm. So I'm on.
Go
I'm
ahead.
on.
Go ahead,
I'm
Go
on
Isaac.
ahead.
jump
Go
in.
ahead.
I'm on because ultimately, when you think of love, most people are thinking of the expectation of what they're supposed to get in return.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they're loving from a place of wholeness and wellness for themselves and first and
Mm,
foremost.
Hmm.
mm,
So the trauma that's in my family is that my daughter and I don't have an active relationship. We don't speak based on her asking me just to be out of her life. Um, to accept that, I had to love myself enough to learn that
Yes,
it's her process.
that's right.
It's her process. So you can love. I still love her. I think about
Mhm.
her. I pray for her. I have an altar, a space for her on my altar. I have a space for her in my bedroom. So you can still love someone and they not want anything to do with you, or you can be in their lives with my nieces and my sister. My sister and I, it's a lot of trauma in our relationship, from the trauma we cause one another through physical fist fights and
Mhm.
withholding love from each other for whatever beliefs we had about how we were raised. Um, the trauma in that relationship, I had to learn, okay, I just need to be quiet. And it's hard. I don't know if y'all know me. Um,
Aries, uh-huh.
I had to start learning how to operate from my moon and my rising.
There you go.
okay.
So more my moon, Gemini, because
Mhm.
Capricorn and Aries, they.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I say all
Mm-hmm.
that to say I'm learning to love people and allow for space for them to be who they are. If it is traumatic for me, you cut off. But cutting off doesn't mean you totally leave them alone, like you're just not good. So maybe I overhelped my niece when I first moved here because she was in a domestic violence relationship. And I just went all in. I got the kids here. I got the kids. I'm not helping her by always taking the kids and just always offering. I'm actually enabling her to continue the behavior that got her into that relationship. You have to have boundaries. What those boundaries look like is, do you feel well? Are you operating well? You're not offering more than you can give. That's going to siphon your joy, your happiness, your finances. You can only give from a place of love if you're loving on yourself well.
Very
Very
good.
good.
Very,
Yeah. I
very
want to
good.
say,
Yeah, you messed up bringing
that's right.
astrology
Yeah,
in. I'm going to comment on
please
that.
do, because I was about
You
to.
messing
That's
up.
right.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Go ahead, Mook. You go ahead and carry the stage.
Okay, but you
Go
chime
ahead.
in because I just have to say this. Uh, my daughter and I, when she went through her Saturn return at 29:30, I mean, she
Mm,
just be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Woo," and I'm like, "Whoa, who is this new person here?" I couldn't do anything right, and then I was like, I used to be such a loving mother, and now all of a sudden I'm just something's wrong with me, and I couldn't do anything. And I mean, my friends would be like, "Why do you keep going over there? You know she gonna just, you know, put you out of the house." I'm not, but she not. Yeah, she did. But anyway, that was her with her boundaries. Okay, that was her with her boundaries, and I got that. And I love my daughter, and then at the same time, I say, "Wait a minute, let me set some boundaries." You
That
don't
part.
have to treat me like that. You don't get, okay, no, I'm not running to you every time you let me. And then my spirit said, pray for her.
Mhm.
So I was so mad at her one time that about a year ago, I put on my phone, pray for my daughter, pray for her. And every morning it would ping and it go, pray for, pray for your daughter. And I would go into my meditation and send her energy and da 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 da. And it started easing. It started getting a little bit better, a little bit better. And we still didn't have breakthrough. And then one day I had a session with Timothy, and he said, well, what's your daughter's birthday? Maybe we should see, because I think a couple of years ago we had did a little work, and he said, well, we got to see what's going on there. And I was like, of course we do. I mean, we I used to tell people all the time I gave birth to my mother and my father. My oldest one
Mm-hmm.
of the reasons that I grew up to be the human being that I am, because they saved my life. They gave me purpose, they direction. I did everything to make sure they were good, but it made me good, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
Baby, when we sat down with Timothy, I mean, the light bulb, and I'm sitting here going, "Oh my God, I've been suffering all these years with my, I couldn't do this with Timothy, all these, and and then of course my spirit said, it's not ready until it's ready.
There we go.
Things
Yes.
had to settle.
Mhm.
Certain things have to go a certain way so that everybody could be receptive to
Mm-hmm.
what was being heard,
Correct.
what was being brought forward. And I mean, all of a sudden,
Mhm.
I have the sweetest daughter. I said, "Oh my God!" And Timothy kept saying to me, he said, "Move, this is gonna be all right. Don't, I said, I don't know." He said, "Don't move, it's gonna be all right. I promise you. Don't worry, it's gonna be all right." Yes. So that astrology is no
Mm.
joke. I would tell
Mhm.
every parent, and I have told many of people, because I did raise my children according to their astrology, but I never looked at that like, because it wasn't necessary. We always had this, but she was probably holding her tongue all those years. But what, when she got to her Saturn return, what happened to me?
Right. There we go. That's always a game changer in that Saturn return, because that's the first stage of initiation, before. And the second Saturn return is where we begin to reap the rewards of the first one. I'm going to say
Mm,
this in relationship to astrology. I've probably done thousands of charts. Every Aries woman, every Capricorn woman, there is always some type of dysfunction that makes connecting difficult with their daughters.
mm,
Now I know in the sign of the womb of Aries, they create warriors.
Yeah.
And you can try to
mm,
think of any Aries women that you know that everything was either smooth with their mother or it's smooth with their daughter. It's like they come out as warriors, and I have to tell Aries mothers, just back off. You have to detach. It's not going to be the sentimental TV type of
mm,
relationship with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the dysfunction is there to create new possibilities in their space, so they're not dependent on you to nurture them in places they got to learn to nurture themselves. There are no mistakes. In Capricorn women, through their wounds, it
mm,
seems like there's always a sense of testing. Capricorn is always about testing and patience and time. So any Capricorn women out there, if you're having difficulties with your daughter or with your children, give it time,
Mm-hmm.
time to mature into the possibility that was meant to be. So I want to say this. Thank y'all for being so vulnerable with sharing your experiences, because you didn't have to do that. And y'all out there in the listening audience, y'all are getting this for free. Y'all need to legally pass out the collection plate and compensate these women, because I believe y'all are helping somebody. So
Yeah.
I want to
mm,
mention this. I was doing a session with a sister, and she could remember in the womb her father, whenever he would drink, he would become extremely violent.
mm.
And she remembered the fear in the womb.
Yes.
See, in human
Wow.
design, the channel that's unconscious is created again 88 days before their birth. So actually it's a gate. And when that child is born, or when that woman, the little girl comes through, all of her life, she's looking to connect that channel to complete
Mm,
that wounding so she can be safe. So, in human design, it shows us what we're seeking for to alleviate the pain from the wounds. But this
mm,
little girl remembered what happened in the womb. And at 5, it seems that, when the child was born, the father left, right? 5 years later, he comes back. And she remembers saying, Mama, I don't like when he's around, because when he starts drinking, he gets mean to you
mm.
Mm.
in the womb.
Mm.
Wow.
So I would think that the consciousness that's being developed in the womb is so sacred, and we got to be so mindful,
Yes.
because
Mm,
it's easy to assume that, well, the child's not born yet, it's still for us to shape him or her where we need to be, but they don't understand that the shaping has already begun.
Yes.
The process is already began. So
mhm.
I guess I'm saying all that to say this. Have y'all had any experiences, or should I say this? What are some of the symptoms that we can recognize
Mm.
that a child may have experienced, or an adult may have experienced, uh, trauma within that wound space? Anybody want to take that one?
Mhm.
I would say the things that we disregard because they are children. So loud noises,
Mm.
being
Okay.
distant, fussy, um, unable to get them to rest, sleeping,
Oh, okay.
because safety is an issue. So a child oftentimes won't sleep, at least alone or in the dark, or needs certain things. Dietary issues, digestive issues, um, hostility, anger,
Mhm.
violence, underdeveloped physically. Um, they take on characteristics of adults. depending upon what type of trauma it was. They take them on very quickly.
Wow.
That's just some of them.
Yeah, I
Keep
would add
going.
that as they get older and start relating to the world, like going to school and whatever, there's most of these children
Mhm.
have stomach issues or
Okay.
Yes.
digestive problems.
Mhm.
Nausea. There's certain foods that they can't eat, and as parents, it's very interesting how we would insist just eat all your food, and if you don't eat that, you ain't get nothing else. You know,
Yep.
we're
Yep.
not
Yeah.
Yep.
we're not teaching them
Mhm.
listen to their bodies and to be intuitive and to be sensitive. We're insisting that you eat what I tell you to eat.
Correct.
So a lot of that is that total disregard that we have as adults tend to do. And then as we get even older as children, um, instead of rebellion, there's a passive aggressive behavior. There's a undermining, there's a pretense, like they'll get along with you, but they're actually manipulating
Yes.
the relationships around you.
Hmm.
Yes.
you know but again, I believe that that's part of um the distrust, right? Can you imagine being a child in a womb and feeling like
Yeah.
where you are is unsafe, and then you're
Mm.
born into this unsafe environment
Hmm.
Yes.
that hasn't changed because these are the same people, right? So
Hmm.
now, how do you trust this space?
Wow.
How do you trust that space? So that child has to learn how to survive in an unsafe space with people who, in their mind, is pretending to love them because that can't be real love.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? And that's why I'm saying that in our homes, love is love love is kind of absent for real.
Yeah.
We get
Okay.
functional. We get duty.
Mhm.
We if I feed you, that mean I love you. No,
Yeah.
Mm.
if you feed me, it's probably because you hungry too.
Hmm.
Share your food with me because I'm here. You know.
And I, I think some of that also comes from our history in this particular country, or our history in our indigenous history in this country when when slavery came about. So it
Yes,
disrupted the lives of those of us that were indigenous.
that's
And
right.
then you think about those of us that were stolen and brought here. A lot of the ways in which we parent are 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 based and rooted in
Yes, ma'am.
surviving,
That's right.
and we haven't made that transition to thrive. We're either there, and that's not all of us, because there's some great parents out there. You
Oh
move,
Sure.
my sister gives love in an unconditionally type of way, but then it's this one little caveat that's back there. We've set up these rules of what it means to be an adult and what it means to be a child, to where we almost hinder our children from continually to develop, because we have this, oh, I'm always your parent and you
and
always
that's
gonna
not
be
true.
this, or you're going to always
That's
owe me this, and those type of things. So there's an undercurrent to just loving freely and openly. Like, you can set boundaries, but the boundaries shouldn't be based on how much you're going to love this child in return. And that's the message I think a lot of children get from some of our homes, that, I've done this for you, so you need to do this, or it's conditioned. The love is very conditioned. And
Hmm.
I think we're coming out of that. You know what I mean? I think
Hmm.
we're
Hmm.
moving past that.
these children are bringing us out of these new
Yes,
urban
they are. We
children
don't have a
That's right.
choice.
playing with us. Okay.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I would agree that the children coming through now are making us accountable for the work that we have either
Yes, they are.
dismissed or procrastinated on doing. And I truly believe, some of the sessions that I've done, not just with women, but with men, they can remember the sense of abandonment from the womb space. It seems as if, you know, the nurturing and that genuine warm feeling of expectancy from the mother, that, that the child can feel that they matter. But then maybe the husband or the man does something and goes away.
Mm.
The children can feel that masculine departure,
Mhm.
and also the departure from the mother because the attention is away from the womb. And how can I get my man back?
Yeah.
So the child is existing there in limbo, having to already in the womb figure out a way to survive.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering, has anyone here experienced abandonment issues, or have you served a client that you have to work through abandonment issues from the womb?
Yeah. Can I take this, Cyrus?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, so it's so interesting uh, because um, all of us actually, we go from the Kemetic, from the African tradition that
Hmm.
says that we chose our parents.
There we go. Right.
Like we literally decided before we came to this earth school, and we decided with our parents, there's certain things that I need to learn, and because I need to learn these certain things, you're going to have to be a certain way in order for me to get that.
Yes.
Hmm.
Now, part of that may be that your dad says, well, after you get a certain age, I'm going to leave, and you're going to be on your own, and you'll have to find your way after that. Now, when we come through the womb, of course, we forget that we have made this agreement.
Hmm.
Of
And
course.
now society has trained us to believe that a healthy family can only exist how? If you have a mother and a father and then the children. And
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
it. They don't say the grandmother, the
Hmm.
grandfather, the
Hmm.
aunties, all of that extended. That's part of the African tradition that everybody matters in the community, right? But our society, our schools, our book says that the nucleus family is the
Hmm.
most important, and that a child cannot be served well if they're missing any of that. And so what does it do? It anchors us in our trauma. So now my whole life is I don't have a mama, I don't have a daddy, I
Hmm.
was abandoned, I'm an
Hmm.
orphan, nobody loved me. So we those of us who have studied this, we already know that you're going to keep creating a painful existence just because you're having those thoughts.
Yes.
You're
Hmm.
not even looking to see, well, who am I in this equation, and why did I create this for myself?
Hmm.
What was it that I came here to learn? Who am I becoming because I don't have a father? Who am I
Hmm.
because I don't have a mother? What are those things that I had to develop, or those ways I had to develop that they provided by not being there?
Hmm.
Now, the reason I got to reference this book, Your Soul's Plan,
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz, he does a magnificent job of speaking to a medium and having that medium talk to his patients and talk to their pre-birth planning committee.
Mm.
Yes, there we go.
Mm.
So now that's a high level of responsibility that the average person does not want to have to deal with.
Mm.
Correct.
I'd rather you lay it out nicely for me, give me a mother, father, everything that I need is provided for, and I just live a happy life. No, this is not this lifetime. This is
Mm.
not
Mm.
this lifetime. We literally came here to go to school and to grow up. Now, this is something else I discovered that I thought was just amazing about how we were created.
Hmm.
There is a function in the placenta, it's an immunological function that is there to prevent the mother from rejecting the fetus.
Mm.
Wow.
Huh?
Hmm. Hmm.
All I could do is this, like really.
Because because divine creation knew that some mothers would be like, I can't do that. Well, I don't want you, but the universe said every single child that comes in here is wanted.
Yes.
Came here with a purpose, and we need this womb to hold it. And if I have a long, it can hold it so it can come
Mm,
out and do its thing. And
mm,
we gonna
mm.
protect it.
Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Look at this creator.
Hmm. So
Okay.
wise.
Yes. Knew that this would have to be, knew that that fetus would have to be protected. All right. So
Mm,
created that function. So then we literally must own the power of who we are as human beings.
yes.
Stop living and choosing to live in the trauma. Okay, yeah, we came through this and we came through that, and that happened. All of that's real, but that's the platform. That's your training ground.
Hmm. Hmm.
In the
Just bought it.
huh? That's the
I
what?
just got Your Soul's Plan on audiobook. I couldn't.
Okay.
It's a
Oh,
great book. A great book.
we came here to change the way this world is operating. Most of us even asked to come. Put me in. I can do
Mhm.
it. Put me in. Then we get down here and say, shit, man, give me a remote control and a beer, and I'm
Yeah.
good. No, no, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting having this conversation. Leela, I'm going to do my best to get up out of here. I see you putting the time alert on me. I'm going to do my best. Y'all messed up picking me tonight, but we'll do our best to get out of that. But yeah, so it's as if in eternity we're not attached to the things of pleasure or the distractions that come in time. In eternity, we don't want to choose the womb of Claire Huxtable through the Cosby Show, everybody's mother, because that womb is not capable
Yeah,
of shaping me
yeah.
in the power in which I'm going to have to show up to be a vessel of healing.
Come
Mhm.
on.
So I need a womb that is challenging. I need a womb that is not going to validate me. Hell, it might not even want me in that. They might think
Come
I'm a
on.
mistake, but
Okay.
that's the recipe for my growth and expansion.
Yes.
Even, dealing with astrology, I could go through that fourth house cusp and
Mm.
I know exactly how that mother is intended to wound the child. I
Wow.
don't
Mm.
care how perfectly she wants to walk.
Mm-hmm.
It is inevitable that she's going to wound that child in this way. And
Mm-hmm.
in the 10th house, we understand how the father later, either by abandonment, criticism, or judgment, validates the child, or the child has to find a way to validate him or herself to be recognized in society. So it's clear and apparent what you said is divinely true, that we choose the wound that we know we need to come through. So again, forgiveness is not necessarily something that happens intentionally. Forgiveness happens with an understanding that we needed this experience, we needed this wound to be able to manifest these higher qualities of sacred service.
Come on.
So again, I have one more thing that I want to get out, and I
Yeah.
know
Come on.
we're
Come on.
and then after that, I'm gonna let y'all say our piece, and we're gonna be up out of here. All right. So as a man, you know, I know y'all go through so many things, right? I'm sensitive to that. I live in a house full of Aries women. They remind me to be sensitive of that.
Yeah.
So I want to know, as a man, and to all the men who are listening and will listen to this, how can we show up
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is powerful for y'all to feel safe in your own womb space? How can we show up for you in that capacity? Because I know y'all go through so much. Even again, I'm not a woman, but I've had experiences dealing with them. I know C-sections, all of these things can be disruptive, and sometimes men, we're not available, or we're not knowledgeable of how to show up through these things. We just think y'all are supposed to be tough and get over it. This is just how life is. But I know we need to show up a little bit better than we have been. So how can I or we do that for y'all?
You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead, Iris.
I think I think one is understanding that we are one. And because I think right now, specifically, I'm only speaking about Black men and Black women because that's what I know.
Mhm.
I think specifically is recognizing that we're one, and regardless of what our history was, we all suffered the same. No matter
Mhm.
what you want to see, rape was happening to men, rape was happening to women,
Right.
children were being stolen. We had to work harder. I mean, all of it, and all that has trickled down in how we function within our relationships. But I think we need to understand that when women speak, and the way we're speaking right now, so powerful, so direct to it, that it almost feels like we're stabbing you because we're just giving it to you. It's no sugarcoating. It's no worrying about your ego. It's no worrying about how it's going to make you feel. We're dumping because ultimately, when you look at how society is set up, things, it looks like everything outwardly is just happening to our men, but it's equally happening to our women. And we have to remember that when we see stuff, we can't go male or female. We have to remember that we're one. We are a
Okay.
unit. So showing up and understanding that when I'm communicating to you, regardless of how it's coming out of my mouth, we have to receive it the same way we receive from you. The other thing is being vulnerable to the process. I think our men are returning to a place where they're soft again. They understand that they need the feminine in order to move through this universe, in order to connect back with us. I believe our men get that. Um, I also believe what we need from our men is a different type of understanding. Stop calling us Black women and lumping us there. Protect us at all costs. Even if we complaining about somebody taking on our likeness, when we say something about it, you with it. You you with it. You are going to protect us. I don't care how minimal it is.
Mhm.
That's what
Mhm.
we're looking for. But I think also we're looking for, let me just say I'm looking for, let me not speak for every Black woman because we don't want to put that on there. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for someone that can be vulnerable enough to say that they don't understand and ask me how I need them to show up.
Yes.
I am looking to my brothers, my uncles, my dad to change how they currently communicate with women. And I've watched all of them grow, but I can
Mhm.
see that they can do better because the trauma that they cause, it's something that has been the boys will be boys, or you like that and this, that, and the other thing. But that's how they've been groomed. But they're amazing men, not but they are amazing men. I want them and I want any man that's going to come into my life from this point forward to think about how do you cause harm in a way, how do you cause harm in just being you? Does that make sense?
It does.
Be present to how you show up in her life or even in your son's life, because how you show up in their life dictates how they show up
Yes.
for their sister, their cousin, their mother, the lover that's going to come into their life, the mother of their children. So I say being ever present to how they come into our lives. That's really the most important part.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Moo, did you want to share as we
Yeah,
begin to wrap this thing up?
I heard you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to use that language
I
because,
know,
hey,
I
I'm
know.
getting nudged in the
But I'm
back
gonna
too.
take it.
Okay.
I know. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take it
She
out.
the boss though.
I listen. I'm around so many bosses. It's like, whoo, it's okay, right? But I want to put something in the space for all of us to
Okay.
reflect on. There's something called the polyvagal theory.
Okay.
The polyvagal theory. And it was literally engineered through hip hop music,
Hmm.
where our brother Kings have this deadpan look on their face that literally looks like, you know, what do we, the poker face, the
Hmm.
poker face. Like, there's no light in the eyes, there's no smile on the face, there's this deadpan look that actually occurs so that um, people won't mess with them, right?
Hmm.
Kind of like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Don't
Hmm.
F with me. I'm tough.
Right.
But that polyvagal theory now goes into how many generations, right?
Mm,
And then women are looking at men, that's fear, it immediately says fear. It immediately says, I could hurt you. It doesn't say I'm vulnerable and soft and will protect you. Even though they may feel like that, they've actually put this kind of mask on. And so
mhm,
we have to interrupt this. We have to interrupt this. And you can, it's a lot of research out there on the
mhm,
polyvagal theory, a lot of research, because it was intentionally engineered for our community. Okay. So we have to disrupt that. And how do you disrupt that? Through meditation, through
mm,
dance, through
mm.
music, and particularly 432 hertz, because they changed that musical hertz to 440 or whatever, that takes us off balance. So we have to get back to the real music and rhythm of our community. And we have to put joy back into the main activity of our daily life.
Right.
Yes.
Joy, and get off of this duty and this, I'm working so hard and I gotta,
Mhm,
no.
mhm.
The balance, that's why we use the life quadrant in our work. We balance. We don't just go overboard because we can. And
Mhm.
I'm that spade, I'm the queen of the working, right? But it's like, no, we got to balance it out. So I'm saying that how men can begin to show up, and Iris said it, you have to soften. You really do have to go into your heart. You really do
Mhm.
have to own your feminine energy, just like we've had to own our masculine energy.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
to
True.
take
Very
care of
true.
our family and protect it. Just like when you're absent, we have to step up. So now we're asking you to step into that space of softness and love and joy and receptivity. Okay, so that's what I would add to that. But I wanted to give you literally how we've been socially engineered so that we can begin to study and change ourselves inside of what we know and what others have tried to create in us. We can
Mm.
actually counter that.
Beautiful. So I had to knock off my headset. My phone was about to die. That would have been tragic.
Oh, yeah.
So we're here now. So let me just say this: you women, you two women, you're so amazing. Thank you for the service that you provide. Thank you for the trauma that you had to endure, so that you can hold the space of my daughters, my
Mm.
sons, and the world itself. Thank you all so much. And as a man, I can speak from my space. I don't take that for granted. So at this time, I just want to hear a little bit from each of you, and then I guess I'll close it out, and we'll be done here. So, Iris, what thoughts do you want to leave us with briefly here as we begin to end this session?
Quickly, for men and women to understand where the seat of their power lies.
Okay.
When we talk about womb, I know most people are only thinking about the physical womb, but recognize that you can change your trajectory at any point. At
Yes.
any point, and it starts in your mind. It starts in the with the sixth and the fourth chakra. For those of you who listen are looking for those subtle bodies, that's where you have to do the work at first, and all of it transmits. The other thing is care for yourself well, and
Mhm.
everything else will come. And what I mean by well is not the luxury of things,
Mhm.
it's how you eat, it's sleep, it's what you tell yourself, it's the habit you practice to be well. That's
Mhm.
it.
Thank you so much, Iris, for the work that you do, and thank you for showing up in a powerful way this evening.
Mhm.
Shemsu, what do you want to leave us with?
I want to leave it with just thanking both of you for your space tonight, for your energy, for your love, for all the years that you've just been in my circle of love and life. It's just been amazing. And to our producer Leela, who we get to bounce ideas
Yes.
off of each other, just amazing our space. And then I also wanted to say happy new moon in Capricorn. Yes. And this is the day we launched this. We don't do anything by accident around here. And we have 7 days until the winter solstice. And every year we start this process so that we can prepare because this 1221 is so powerful that we have to
Mhm.
make sure that we have moved out all of those cobwebs, that we are cobwebs and that we are present and we are full and ready to create a whole new world.
Sure.
And then the last thing is that on our website, Master Force dash, no, on our website, www.master.force.leadership. No, it's not dot. Okay, I'm gonna start over. www. Thanks, Iris. Write it down. Master dash force dash leadership dash academy.com. We have some interactive thing activity there for you to do, and we invite you to go and visit that. It's some journal work for you to get involved with so that you can continue this process after this call. And then we also have an Ignite Your Soul Connection um, YouTube channel. So all of the years that we've been doing that, we actually have all of those tapings or those recordings, and this one will also go up there. So yeah, that was all I was going to say, and thank you. And then I also wanted to put in the space for the men in the womb is called the Dantian.
Ah,
The
all right.
Dantian.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
DIEN, the Dantian. Yeah. So
And
Okay.
thank you for having me, Moo. This is such an honor to serve. So whenever you ask, I'm saying yes.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, ladies, thank y'all so much. We're about to be out of here. Let me remind everyone tomorrow, promptly 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Our topic for tomorrow, I believe, is emotions and weight loss. Our presenters, Teresa Lugo, and we all know Miss Marlene Fain. And our facilitator will be Mr. Robert Nixon on tomorrow. So everybody, make sure you're tuning back in. Make sure y'all getting involved. And I just want to say this. If anyone is suffering, if you are experiencing trauma from the wound and it's playing out in your relationships, because we all know we don't meet out of love, we meet out of pain. And that's
Yes.
how we first connect. And if you're having problems dealing with that, contact Master Force and see how they can be of service to you. And or either some of the coaches that are involved, they're extraordinary beings. I'm proud to be a member and a practitioner within this organization. And I'm grateful for that. So just remember, whether you're male or female, there's always healing to be done.
Yes.
And it's not just for us, but we have a generation to set the stage for. So let us be mindful of that. All right, y'all. So with that being said, this concludes tonight's session. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Blessings.
Peace.
Peace.